Teri, I'm so glad I get to go into this show every time grooving to my brother's music. Makes me so happy.
It's delightful, and I sit there and play Airbase as we
Yeah.
get into it every time. Yeah, you right,
So
you right.
howdy to all you disco citizens out there. I am Julia Marchese.
And I'm Teri Gamble.
And we are welcoming you to Horror X, a collaboration between the George A. Romero Foundation and our podcast, Horror Movie Survival Guide.
Yes, Horror X explores the femmes who help make fright films fantasticorical and palavers with them about their experiences in film and horror.
And we are thrilled to sit down today with Alison Locke, who began her film career as a story producer for reality TV. We're going to talk about that. And writing, directing, and producing numerous shorts. Her scripts have placed in numerous contests, including Slam Dance, The Bloodless, Nichols, and Scream Fest.
Oh my gosh, so many cool places.
I
and
know.
Her first feature, I know, right? As writer-director, The Apology, which we've covered on our show over at Horror Movie Survival Guide, check it out, is a Christmas, one of my favorite times of year, psychological thriller starring Anna Gunn, Linus, Roache, and Janeane Garofalo, and is now available to stream all over. So she recently wrote, directed, and also produced a comedy horror short film called Pickup Time, which just completed its festival run.
Alison, welcome to Horror X.
Woo!
Hello!
Yay!
Thanks for having me.
So
I
glad
know
you're
you
here.
both in real life, and so this is fun to pot it up. And I usually Zoom in other area of my house, but in your honor, I had to do in front of the wall, which is only part of my collection, but still.
It's a beautiful collection.
I need to peruse it. Like I need to go through every single one. That's how it looks beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
And we are friends in real life, but we don't get to talk down like this kind of deep level where like, let's get into it. Where did it begin? Where did it start? Let's get to the root of what makes you who you are today.
Okay. For some reason I was like, where's the name? Okay.
What's your fondest memory in horror? How did it start? Where did you, I guess, your root, if you will, for horror?
Well, I think my first the movie I remember watching first that was a horror film was Poltergeist. And has been extremely, yes, I know. And I thought that was so crazy that we had that in common. I mean, it kind of works for our age and stuff, but still, it's of all the gin joints in all the world. But yes, so I watched it in a fun, illicit way. I was at a party, a big family party, and I was very young, and somebody was fancy and had a VCR or whatever. And so I was watching between couches, watching this movie and not understanding what I was seeing. So, and that one continues to be a massive inspiration for me. I love haunted houses, haunted house films, and ghost films about motherhood, usually where the mom is not the bad guy, but the one in peril, or, our hero. So I love that. And then I liked horror movies. Then my real gateway was Friday the 13th. I love Jason. I love slashers. And then, and Nightmare on Elm Street.
We can't skip over that. Let's get into the Jason a little bit. What is it about him that you're drawn to?
Yes, I think I was drawn to it because it felt like they were very accessible, and I liked the tiny, like the vignette of the kills. I thought was really fun, and I still do. Like when I'm writing, one of the things I'm writing right now is a slasher, and it's like thinking about, I know, so fun, and thinking about how each kill is a bit of a mystery that unfolds. Like, how is it going to happen? You got to throw them off, and I think I just really liked that and found it very comforting. Like the kind of how to put it, like this, that there's usually a similar structure to them. You're gonna, like, I love the Halloween movies, of course, too. So it's like every time you're like, I'm gonna watch a Halloween movie, and they are varied levels of accomplishment, but still you're gonna have a certain kind of thing that happens. And I always find I find lots of things scary. I'm a wimp, but one of the things about it is that the idea of a killer where you don't really understand why. I also find it interesting now, thinking about how much I loved those movies to start with, that it's also about, also about a disabled kid's mom. And I also have a special needs child, and I write about it a lot. And it's, she's a huge part of my life, of course, and especially like being now trying to be a part of that advocacy community. So yeah, but I mean, I loved all of it. And then, but I kept feeling like it was like, illicit and like probably pretty like sexist community. And so I never really kind of dove into it until I was later in high school. And my mom was like, I noticed you like horror movies. You know, I saw that there's this overnight horror movie marathon at this movie palace, and it was either Oakland or Berkeley. We were in the Bay Area at the time.
How cool.
So she took me, and you guys, very relevant to this podcast, the first film, the first time I saw it, Night of the Living Dead.
Ooh.
What?
Tell us about what you remember about
screen?
that. Yeah.
On the big screen in a movie
cool.
palace. My mother brought me, a teenage girl, and my younger sibling, who was like maybe 12 at the time, and did this all-night horror movie marathon, and include Texas Chainsaw Massacre, also first watch.
Wow.
Like, what an experience. And then also the like Matthew McConaughey one. No, that's okay. But it was quite an experience. So it was not, they weren't all bangers. But it really, I love I know we get into this later, but I love Romero. I love how political his films are. I love how hard scrabble DIY they all are. They just feel so, it really struck me how sincere it was. And it's very much a process film, which I'm also kind of obsessed with. You know, Dwayne Jones's character is, you know, never stopping. So it's just like, and then we're going to get nails, and then we're going to do this. And like forever after that, I'm always like, what weapons are they finding, and where are they finding them, and where are they, you know, like I'm not going to ever skip that step. That stuff is really interesting to me. Like, where are the weapons coming from? What can you use? What's unique about this house, this space?
And he really doesn't make a wrong step. I don't feel like he isn't a main character where you're like, what are you doing? You're like, he's so smart. He knows what he's doing. He's not letting it get to him. He's just like, what's next? What's next? And it's really like only humanity that's going to bring him down.
It is. And it's like, if he wasn't, I mean, he's our protagonist, so hopefully it's going to hurt, but it's like, because he's so smart, he's so relentless, and he's so, you can see him wanting to pop off at the guy in the basement, but he kind of keeps that a little in check. And we can obviously get into lots of reasons why that might be, but it was like, just watching that kind of process, I was just in love. But I still kind of had a weird thing where I was like, okay, now I like them, but they're not for me. I'm going to write family dramas. I was very into family dramas.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So there was a hard turn.
Tell me more about the family dramas. Okay, so
so I wrote one with a terrible title called "With False Bravado." I was very serious,
I think that title's good.
I love that.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
Well, y'all are very kind, but to me, I was like, whatever, 20-year-old Allie. but it was like trying to. But I really, and I continued to be obsessed with family dramas, and I just make them horror films. So it's like that's so much of the base of everything that I work on. Is I'm fascinated with it. I think family is often the real horror. I mean, so many, folks, we end up with toxic family members, and society just keeps telling us to, no, but your family. I'm like, the family, I have a few family where I'm like, yeah, you rock forever. But mostly it's chosen. It's like, so I find that really fascinating, where we can, hurt the people we care about most and that kind of stuff. So but then I also watched so I felt like it was kind of an evolution. It wasn't like, so many of our folks of our village, were like hitting the video store and always getting the horror films. And I wasn't, because I was scared of them, and I felt like it wasn't for me. Like it was like, I think a little bit of snottiness, but also a little bit of fear of it being really sexist and racist and stuff. And I just didn't want to, I was very into art films, and that is a factor, of course. Yeah. But I didn't think there was space for me. So it was kind of the feeling. And so I would go to the video store and get kind of, I might get some of I always like the Carpenter films and those sorts of things, and Romero, but I didn't tend to get too into it until I saw a documentary called An American Nightmare that came out a while back now, probably 25 years ago. And not many people know about this documentary, but it's the sort of thesis of it is talking about American plus Cronenberg, right? There's the token Canadian that we got to throw in.
That's technically the continent of America, of North America. I think it counts.
Yes,
you know,
but conveniently no Mexican filmmakers. But it was like, but it was like about the idea of these films all being inherently political, that they were reflecting their times, they were reflecting the sexual revolution and the Vietnam War and all of this loss and pain. It just went, oh, I could do all of these things that I want to talk about, and I could do it in the fun thing. And then when I started to like get to know anyone who was into horror, it was like, oh, there's definitely factions where you don't go over there. But for the most part, everybody I've met has been just so inspiring, so warm, so welcoming, so thoughtful, because we put our shit somewhere, you know? I really do think there's a psychological truth to that. You know, so.
There's such a community of outsiders coming together to welcome other outsiders, and I think that is, it's really incredible. I feel like the horror community, and I don't know if it's like this in every city, but in LA at least, and at least the crowd that we run with is a chosen group of really inspiring, supportive people who want to help you, like want to support you. And this is what we're doing, right? This is it right here.
Oh, 100%. Right. And I love, I love all of it. And I love going to everybody's screenings and going to the meetups and being on podcasts and all of that, to the point where sometimes I'm like, girl, work.
I know. Well, then you're like volunteering your time on set. Cause I feel like the first time I really got to hang out with you, I was like, you were like doing like a job. I was like, what are you're like production coordinating us right now? You're like, technically no, but yes. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever it was, like,
Yeah,
I
AD'd a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I did volunteering as an AD, because I definitely have that like mom grown up.
You have that energy that keeps us going. I was like, you got us together, and we're keeping the shots going and like making sure stuff got done on set.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of fun doing that, but I did realize I was like, oh, I think I'm doing that too much, because it really can be, it's a glorious time suck, but it's a time suck. And also I'm an overly practical person already. As a director, you can't be too practical. You have to be a little like, okay, I know it's hard, but I need a Camaro. It cannot be a Mustang. It's a Camaro. This matters, and not do that all the time, but sometimes it matters, so.
But the specificity of your vision is what makes you a filmmaker with a vision.
Yes,
so it has
exactly.
To be specifically you, right?
Absolutely. Like on The Apology, it was so funny because I had written in the script that Gretchen's dog is a 3-legged black dog. Because my nephew dog at the time was a 3-legged black dog, and it was just
your nephew dog. I don't know.
My nephew dog. Yeah, so that's what I called him, because my brother and sister-in-law, they had a dog that was a 3-legged black dog, and I am such a sap that absolutely any creature, anything like that, you're all related to me. Like yeah,
that's your nephew. Trust me, I have a dog. I understand, and like that's her. Like she's the sibling to my godson.
Yeah,
but she's like the god dog, and that's like my girl. Like,
yeah. I really need to like start doing like Sunday dinners or something, and be like, bring all your 3-legged dogs. No, but I put that in the script, but you don't really think that. I'm like, it doesn't matter that much. And they were like, Allison, you won't believe what I found for you. And they got my line producer Michael at the time. He was like, I found a 3-legged black dog, and this was in Wisconsin for like one day of exteriors. 3-legged black dog, and she's blind and deaf. And I was like, wait a minute, what?
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow.
She's cast.
She is perfect. Such a sweet dog. But I did not think about it until we got there, that I'm like, this dog's not going to know what the fuck is happening to her. Like, she was there with her person. So we didn't even, it was fine. But I just thought that was funny. Like, oh yeah, the specificity, they really want to bring it for you, and you lean into it. So yeah, trying to get a little less practical.
So tell us about like when you were like going through high school, going through college, were you on a film track?
Yes. I was such a dork that I started a club at my high school called the FFA, and it was not Future Farmers. It was Future Filmmakers of America.
Tell us, did you have meetings after school?
I had the other FFA at my high school, so I would have been very excited.
Oh, yes,
your FFA for sure.
Tell us about it.
It really wasn't much of anything. It was basically those of us that wanted to get together and talk about movies. And I remember especially just lots and lots of reciting of lines from Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was not that heavy, but it was a performing arts magnet high school. This was in Oakland.
I went to one of those too.
Wow. Oh, okay. What? Yeah. So this was in Oakland. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. And then in the middle of my sophomore year, we moved to Oakland, where I was like, this is so much more our speed. I loved Oakland. And yeah, so they had a performing arts magnet, but it was a very broke one. So it was very much like those of us who were like obsessive go-getters already. I remember I directed some pieces of Little Women. And that's when I especially was like, oh, I think between that and watching Taxi Driver for the first time, I was like, oh, I want to be a director. I really do. You know, because
amazing.
I was like,
I don't want to be Taxi Driver. I love this combination because that kind of sounds like what you were talking about earlier, the family drama with like some horror, and it's getting kind of all of that. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's funny because I never even thought about it that way. But you're right. Yeah. And so I remember being like, oh, I should play Jo March, and then I was like, I just kept being like, no, I shouldn't. I'm like having way more fun talking to the actors about how to play these women. And then I saw Taxi Driver, and that moment in the hallway scene where he's on the phone with Sybil Shepherd and the camera pans away from him, like it's so ashamed it can't watch either.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? We can do things, you know, there's like, and that moment is like what every filmmaker and cinephile is chasing forever, right? Something that really makes you look at life or cinema in a different way. And for that to happen at like 16 is really a gift, you know? So I knew really quickly I wanted to go to USC Film School. I knew really quickly I wanted to be a writer director. And I was obsessed with the movie Rudy, which was like lifelong Sean Astin crush.
Yeah, we love him. We love him.
You know what role of his doesn't get shouted out? Where the Day Takes You, because that's a crazy Sean Astin role, and he's so good at it.
Thank you. That was like his super gritty part. Yeah, that was really good. Good call. Yeah, and
I have it back here somewhere.
I know you do.
Oh my God, I love that.
Of course I do.
I'm like, is that in the gray or black section? The darkness.
Probably.
But yeah, I loved Rudy was just like kind of a calling thing where I was like, he got into Notre Dame. I'm going to get into USC Film School. I was obsessed. And so I did. And I was in the screenwriting
How did you do it?
That's I'm
sorry, but that's like,
yeah,
that's like saying I'm gonna go join like you said, like Notre Dame. It's like that's like saying you're gonna be like on the biggest team out there. That's the school, at least here, you know, on this side of the country. Like that's incredible.
I think it's so much of it is luck because they did at the time, and I think it's still a very small class, but their screenwriting class was 24 kids, and they said the rate of acceptance was the same as the rate of acceptance to Harvard.
Yeah.
Because they got so many applications. And I think part of it was like, it was a good lesson in learning, which I keep relearning, which is you can't win if you don't enter. You have to not assume you can't do something because the worst they say is no. And I just tried to really pour my heart out into the essay and talk about, you know, my crazy child. I had a crazy childhood, like most creative people did. Very supportive mother, but we moved a lot and had a lot of financial problems. And I think by the time I was actually writing the application, we were unhoused. So it was an intense situation. So I was one of the people who got out of USC without a huge amount of loans because we were so broke. I couldn't even get the loans. It was like, here's grants. It was like the USC thing was like really rich people, really poor people, because you just can't, like, I couldn't have afforded any school.
Yeah.
So that was incredible. A big deal. So a huge luck. Yeah. Unbelievable.
And was it what you thought it would be?
Beyond. It was amazing. It was amazing. I remember being in my senior year and thinking, like, I wish they wouldn't make me graduate.
Oh, you wanted to stay in the incubator a little longer.
Forever. And I think I've also just been chasing that community ever since, of just like, I'm always in a writer's group. I'm always like, making like little DIY shorts and stuff. And so,
but that's the training, is to teach you how to do that, because I think that's what makes so many graduates from there so successful. Is you guys are really good at tapping in a network. Like everyone I know who's done like any of those art programs there seems to really know how to connect with other people in the community really, really beautifully. So
absolutely,
as being like the big win from there for sure.
Absolutely. And also I think just knowing like, no one's going to make it happen for you. Don't assume that. Just keep generating your own material and keep having, your big crazy ideas and just do it, So it was a wonderful experience. And then the tricky part came after, which is of course true, I think, for most people that go to film school or any college.
But
like finding your way.
You have to, yes, you have to create stuff. I was like, you have to go make the things now. Like you learned all the formas. Now you got to go figure out yours. And they're like, oh.
But you did win a screenwriting award at
I
USC.
did. Yes.
Can we talk about that?
It's a fun one too. Yes. I won the Jack Nicholson Screenwriting Award when I was at USC.
Incredible.
For a family drama with some magical realism called Coming of Age, which I hope to adapt into a ghost story at some point soon.
Yes.
Because I went back and I just did that thing where every once in a while you go back and read your old things and you're like, any usefulness? And I was like, oh my God, this is great. Like I want to rewrite every line of dialogue, but this is great. Like I really loved it.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. I wish that meant that I met Jack Nicholson, but I did not. But I did get to write a letter to Jack Nicholson. Whether or not he read it, I don't know. But
for the scholarship or whatever the award or whatever. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, it was like you submit a script and everybody in the class submits, and it's a big deal who wins this, But I remember literally, I didn't think about it at all. I just was like, well, sure, this is like part of my classwork or something. I just did not expect to get it, and especially to get it for something kind of strange. Like I really was like, this one, like, because USC is a little more towards like Hollywood studio stuff.
Sure.
And so that was a nice introduction too to that idea that it's like, don't try to chase trends or what you think is going to be a big thing. Just make what you're fascinated with and see from there. But film school is incredible. I mean, it's like where I saw, because I was already into going to the rep theaters, and that was the big difference between San Antonio and Oakland as well. The Bay Area is rich with repertory cinema. And so I remember like the night before I graduated high school, I went to see I shouldn't have brought this up if I can't remember the name of the movie. Mayor Winningham and Jennifer Jason Leigh about the sisters, and one of them is a singer. I forget, but it's an incredible, but I remember watching that and being so like, this is going to be my life. It's like watching these things and making these things. And I felt a little lonesome because I didn't have a lot of close friends in high school. Like most of us, I think. I had friends. I wasn't a lonely person, but I wasn't, so so it was like I really was an obsessive reader, obsessive watcher, obsessive writer, and continue to be. But it was just such a great experience to be able to bridge that. And then I went to the cinema school and I lived on the cinema floor, and so it was like everybody was like this really interesting person that I could relate to all of a sudden. It really was like that thing where they say, it gets better. Don't worry. It gets better.
You'll find your people. The more you get into your niche, whatever that is, I feel like it just gets better. Yeah.
Oh my God. And there was just like half the cinema floor were like beautiful men who were obsessed with movies. I was like,
into it.
Disneyland.
Yeah. Yes, please. Sign me up.
Yeah.
That's so cutie.
Yeah. So it was really, it was such a great experience, and they were so thoughtful, and it was very intense writing classes. We really did like write scripts all the time and learn all the mechanics. And also just, they were more artful than USC necessarily gets credit for. And one of my professors there was Stuart Gordon.
Oh, we love Stuart.
And what a heaven he was. He was so wise, and he was so classy. And he was also part of my introduction to that horror could be inclusive. And I know we always feel a little ick talking about this, but like intellectual, and that it was very classy, and it just started to get rid of those like fears and sort of biases about it, and like help me get into that stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
he was
so
very
cool.
sweet.
I miss Stuart.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. He was a love. Yeah. I remember
such a teddy bear, right? And then you're like, you're filming this stuff? Really? Like it just doesn't.
Almost to a one. Almost to a one. You're like, you meet the filmmakers of like the most brutal shit, and you're like, what's up? Do you make cookies too? Yeah. I mean,
they do. Yeah, they do. So what's the leap? So what happens after film school? Like now you barely make it out of the incubator, not wanting to leave it, but then you get shoved out into the world. What happens after you get shoved out into the world?
So I was still broke as fuck, and so I needed any kind of job, and I was temping, and I basically was just my sunshine self and got to know everybody at this one temp job that I had, where I was the front office person for payroll. And so people would come and pick up all the checks for everybody on their shows. Okay. And so I just kept talking to everybody just to be nice. I wasn't even being that smart, and then one of them was like, we have a receptionist position opening on this show. And I was like, well, yeah. So I got to work on a show that was only one season long, alas. It was called Gideon's Crossing, and it was with Andre Braugher.
He's incredible.
Rest in peace. And he absolutely lived up to everything you could imagine. He was so, again, classy, smart, professional, would leave the party real early because he had lines to learn and a job to do and a cast to lead. And he sang to my husband over the phone once. He was a sweetie. And I was very devastated when he left, because I hadn't known him since then, but it had always been one of my fantasies that I'd get to work with him as a director. Yeah. But such is life. But yeah. And so I was trying to figure out what the hell to do, how to bridge this. When that show was ending, I was like, I just didn't know what to do. And so basically I got a job as a logger on a reality show that a friend of mine hooked me up with.
What is a logger?
So a logger is basically, I don't even know if they do them anymore, but it was basically like, here's all the footage, take notes on what's in the footage and put in like kind of keywords and stuff like that. It's for the rest of the team to be able to search quickly to find
the trenches of reality.
This
what makes it goes.
And it was literally like it was a month after 9/11. And I was literally watching footage. My first job was on Real World Chicago.
Oh my gosh.
And I was watching this footage, like first week I was there, and it was one of the castmates, her birthday is September 11th. So I'm watching the day before footage, and they're talking about like, I can't wait for my birthday plans tomorrow. And I'm like watching it going, girl, that ain't happening. I was so wild. It was a very wild introduction, because there is a sort of parasocial thing that happens when you in an edit situation of any kind. So I spent a lot of years in post. I worked my way up from logger to I was what did they call it? Like post manager. I forget what my title was, post coordinator. And then and that was making sure everybody was getting their job done on time and had the support that they needed. And then I worked my way into the story department, and then became a story producer, which primarily was documentary writing. So it was like they filmed everything, take 100 hours of footage and turn it into a 20-minute script.
Yep.
And learning to manage that level of footage and think about
so
how
much. I don't know how y'all do that. I would be overwhelmed. It's so much.
It was overwhelming at times, because my brain is just not that ruthless story-wise. And so that was not an easy job for me, but it was also a fun one, and certainly much more creative than most of my peers were doing at that age, because most people were assistants and stuff. And I had done a lot of receptionist jobs. And so, but it was good to have a creative job. And then every weekend I was making shorts. And so it became a joke amongst everybody at the job. Like, how many movies did you make this weekend, Allison? Because if I wasn't making mine, I was working on other people, like what we did, Teri, where it's like, I'll come and, help with whatever. I'll make cookies and I'll show up and I'll bring, I used to joke like the biggest tool besides a camera is a cooler. You just need a cooler and a camera and you can make a movie.
Yeah.
So I was just doing it. And during that time, my friend Stacy Jorgensen, she was acting in a lot of these shorts that I was making, and then started producing them with me. Well, she ended up becoming what I joke that she's my fancy friend, because she's always perfect and goes to lots of events. And yes. And I'm like the over talker with a nerd shirt in the corner. But she became my producer on The Apology, and knowing her is like how I got in with all of that. Was I went to visit her again. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I went to visit her just to meet her son. And I was like, I have been home. I'm jumping ahead. I'm telling you very bad.
No, go for it.
Go for it.
But it was like, so I stayed home with my daughter for a long time after story producing. And because she has autism and anxiety, very severe anxiety, and she needed a lot of advocacy help and just taking her to therapies all the time. And I was still writing all the time. I made a short during that time called Shh that you can see on YouTube. And that played some festivals. But I didn't know that I should be smart enough to actually go to them. I was really like learning that side of it through friends and through trial and error, and like we all do, I think. And then and then at a certain point I was like, my daughter was about 10 and I was like, I'm gonna go insane if I have to stay home and watch all of this fun shit from afar. Like, all of these stories are burning me up and I want to make them. And so I was just telling my friend that. And then she goes, well, I work for Spectravision and Company X. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hello.
Monitor where your friends work, guys, because I haven't always been great at that. But that was a nice surprise.
I love us some Spectravision.
Big fan.
Yes. I mean, they are amazing.
Yeah.
And so
and the movies,
what a gift.
They are so like specific and so smart.
Oh my God. And they were so supportive right away. I was in shock. But yeah, so basically I said, can you just read my script and tell me if you know somebody who would want to read it? I wasn't even asking her to produce it or, connect in any way. It was very pure. It's an old friend. We'd made films together. And she was like, of course, Allie, anytime. And again, it's like, oh, right. Stop acting like you don't have people to show things to. Because I think we easily can forget that. We forget how many people are already in your circle.
Yep.
And that it doesn't need to be transactional. It can be a pure thing. Like if you keep the ask to something that feels kind of fair and doable and, and I think being way too much of a Girl Scout, I had a lot of trouble with that. And I still kind of do a little bit, but I'm better. But she was like, yeah, of course. So she reads it. And the next day is like, I want to produce this. Wow. And I was like, say what?
You're just like living dream after dream here. That's is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Of
so
course,
it was amazing. Yeah. It was
resonated with her right away. That's great.
And there had been other stuff that I'd shown her back in the day where she was like, oh, it's not for me, but I love you. Please always send me stuff. And so she really just championed me through that whole thing. And it took us 1.5 years to cast it and package it and all that stuff.
What was the casting process like?
Yeah, let's get into that.
It was a lot of people. And it was because at first we had been aligned with RLJE Films, which is where we continued to be, which is a part of AMC and Shudder and all that family, and Universal. So Universal was interested in this film too, which blew my nerdy monster love and mind. Yeah. But they would only finance it if we could get some crazy big actor.
Right.
So we spun our wheels for months and months trying to, dear Sigourney Weaver, trying to get somebody at that level, which again, going back to the Nicholson letter, it's a goddamn joy and a dream come true to type things like Dear Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing, So just to even be in that world of people who make things that have inspired me forever and continue to is like pretty cool. But it was also like the whole time I'm going, you really think they're going to say? So we just didn't know because we were also trying to make something with enough of a budget level to be, really impressive contender kind of movie. And so finally, and not that we ended up settling, our cast was incredible, but it was just.
Oh yeah, you have legends in there still. They're all amazing.
Amazing actors. And so it was, which is incredible. I can't believe my first feature was these like incredible, like SAG veteran actors.
What was walking on set that first day like for you?
Oh my God. It was so emotional in every way. This was before I started taking Lexapro. So is that a little too real?
No, I felt that in my heart, body, and soul. That's all. Yeah.
Like since learned
in solidarity.
You gotta like figure it out, Allie. But yeah, so I did not expect to feel so emotional about being there. And the thing that surprised me most about being there was that everyone wanted to know what I wanted.
Yeah.
And which is like, no shit, that's a director. But for a stay-at-home mom that was obsessed with her kid and everything, like literally would answer any question about myself with my daughter's birthday. Like, you know, it's like, it was not that kind of thing. So to make it about me was really moving and confusing. Like, I didn't realize that there was that work that I hadn't done yet. Yeah. And so that was interesting, this idea that you also have, like, your personal life or your personal struggles don't go away. They are a big part of whatever you're making. And I knew that because the film is also very much a metaphor about my experience trying to be there for my kid. But it was like, oh shit. I also didn't know things like, just little things like how to make sure people have the right amount of cakes, you know, so that when they're decorating the cake, we don't have to keep resetting, you know, like there was just certain things like that, that because I had come from DIY, it was like, well, I mean, you know that, right? We all just do, you know, so it was just little stuff like that that I didn't know. And figuring out how to guide an actor at that level in terms of like tone and, you know, where is she at? You know, like, how is she secretly sad or is she outwardly sad? You know, this, I mean, that's kind of a broad stroke thing, but that was really fascinating. And it continued to be so moving and so hard. But what was continuously moving was just looking around at all this room full of artists. I'd never worked with a crew that big before. It was an IATSE Union Strong crew, which again, most of the time we can't afford to do that. And we wish we could, you know, most of the folks in this town are very much union people, but that was an incredible gift. But just watching them walk around, a lot of women, a lot of people of color on the set, which was a big part of us. Proud to say we got the Reframe stamp, which is a gender inclusive nice stamp for production. So if you guys don't know about this, definitely look it up. It's a fun thing, because it's basically just to say, like, yes, you really made a good stride in terms of having women involved. So by the end, we had an all-female producing team. And then myself and our editor and our makeup effects person was also a lady. And yeah, so it was really great to look around and see people I could relate to doing their thing, you know, just so inspiring. And I would just like openly cry because I was like, you guys are beautiful. And this scene is really dark. Like, so it was,
yeah. That must have been so intense. I feel like it must have been very intense because, like, that movie, there's so much tension, you know, going on throughout that film, and just so much. Yeah. For those who haven't seen it yet, go watch The Apology, come back, but like check it out. But it's very intense. So how did you, I guess, how did you all manage, I guess, like the day-to-day of, like, how many days were you shooting? How intense was that to try to maintain that? I always just feel like that's the challenge when you're in something like those kind of films, to maintain that. What did you do to support your actors? What was the game plan on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big believer in so much of that happens in prep. The idea that we had a lot of Zooms. I made myself constantly available, saying that, you know, anytime you want to Zoom, we'll talk about whatever you want to level that you want. If you don't want me to, that's fine. But we did a lot. We even did some some rehearsing over Zoom. And so that helped a lot because we established everything. So then when it did get really hard for them, like how emotional, especially for Anna, because it was such an intense part. I mean, she's playing, and she's a mother in real life. So she's playing every mom's, you know, worst nightmare. Yeah. And so, I tried to, as much as possible, try to, you know, just kind of be there with them. But that wasn't always wanted either. Very often, you know, she would kind of just want space. And I was like, okay, that's fair, you know? So it was really, really hard because it was emotional material. And we were working with 16 shooting days. And
Fast and Furious, baby.
And we were shooting all through a real house. It wasn't a build of any sort.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
And so it was not easy because of our confined schedule. We had art department working in one part of the house while we were shooting in another part of the house. You know, we had airplanes because we shot it mostly. The house was in West Adams in Los Angeles. And so that was crazy. But I mean, it was also so fun because, again, this crew was incredible. And Linus and I especially got close. And and it was like incredible producing team, incredible. My daughter just came downstairs, like, what are you doing?
Yay, hi.
She's being a star, Mom. That's what she's doing.
Do you want to come say hi? You can come say hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Bethany. She's my muse and my favorite kid.
What's up, favorite kid?
I'm your daughter.
You are my daughter. Thanks for coming to say hi.
You like we're talking. She's like, you're talking about me. I can feel it. Like,
oh my God, hi guys. The kid with the greatest hair ever.
Yeah, gorgeous.
So, yeah, you said since you were invented, you weren't invented. You were born.
And you also are one of the most prolific writers, as far as I know. If it's just as far as you have a writing group, like you're doing it more than pretty much anybody I know. Like that discipline is so impressive. Tell me about where that comes from.
I thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I think it comes from that Hamilton thing of like writing like you're running out of time. I always feel behind, massively behind. And I don't, and the thing that I've learned is it's like imposter syndrome. They're never going to go away. Yeah. Everyone has them. You're not alone. And so I like to call it, if you guys have seen The Babadook, I'm sure you two have seen The Babadook, but I always call it like feeding the Babadook in the basement. Like it's never going to go away, but we kind of figure out how to make our peace with it. And so for me, structure around writing is kind of everything. So I make a weekly schedule every Sunday. Here's when I'm going to definitely write. And I also host a lot of writing sprints. I host several times a week, Zoom and in person. And it just depends on my schedule. So it's kind of erratic. It's like, but it's also like accountability for me as well. And I write outside of those sessions as well. But I also, of course, that way I know I'm at least doing this because my kid's real fun. My friends are real fun. It's a fun city. It's easy to get distracted. Yeah. And I genuinely love writing as opposed to some people love having written.
There is a difference though. There's absolutely, I love having written. I'm one of those people. Like I have moments where I'm writing where I'm like, this is great. But then I'm like, my ADHD is so strong that I'm like, I get lost in the sauce. And then I'm like, okay, I love having something that's finished, but dang it, I got to buckle in.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so easy for that to happen. And being a creative person, I think is also sometimes a little antithetical to real focus. I also have a lot of theories that women aren't as good at focusing because we haven't been allowed to. Because I'm blowing Teri's mind a little bit. Because I have the theory that, because women carry so much of the mental and emotional load for our families and our communities that I'm literally doing a podcast and like she's going outside, I'll track that, right? Like your brain doesn't
split focus at all times. Yeah.
And I think that makes us in some ways like more interesting humans, more in tune, more present, but it also makes it really hard to make the space for our own needs and wants and art. And so having been home with her for so many years, I had to develop like these systems so that I would make sure. I also was deeply inspired by our queen, Miss Jackson, Jackson, for not only her writing, but for her story that she had been married to a fucking shithead. And also it was the 50s. So the combination was she took care of their 4 kids and did everything until she got wealthy enough to have a caregiver, but it was like, or a nanny or whatever. But she would literally write all over her house while she was taking care of her kids. She would put a typewriter in the kitchen while she was making dinner, and she would put a notepad all over her house, and she would work late at night because that's when the kids were finally asleep. And I found that so empowering. Ruth Franklin wrote a really wonderful biography of Jackson that I just, that really just made me feel so much better about the possibility of like writing sessions are so rarely a perfect writing session. We wish, we hope, right? The dream, it doesn't happen as often, but I've gotten a lot better at going, okay, why don't you take her, my dear husband, to her thing on Saturday, and you guys can be gone all day and I will sit home. And that's when I get my juicy big ones, but it's like, and I also am a big believer in what I call writer romance, which is like, I have like a specific candle that I get over and over and again. and that's the candle that I light when I'm writing. If I need the
writing candle.
Yeah. Bath and Body Works, Frozen Lake, shout out. But just something that makes me feel calm. I also have like wrist guards, and I have like little signs, and and one of my signs is actually my signed Romero picture from the set of Night of the Living Dead. So I'm not just being nice when I say how honored I was to be asked to do this, because I was like I'll do anything you guys are doing anyway. But the fact that Romero's name was on it, I was like, yes.
Did you get that signed in person? Did you get to meet him?
So I have a whole Romero story.
Let's do it. Let's hear it. Let's
hear it.
One of the coolest and also sort of most embarrassing things that's happened to me. But I don't get truly embarrassed too often, because that's a waste of energy. But I was at Comic-Con, and my husband, I was just like looking around at booths, and my husband was like, oh, you should, he goes, this is the George Romero booth, and I know how much you love him. And I was like, oh, cool. And he's going, yeah, George Romero is here. And I'm like, I know, I see all the George Romero stuff. And I start talking to this guy at the table about how much I love George Romero, and don't you love George Romero? It was George Romero.
That's amazing.
And I know what he looks like. He had the glasses. Like, what's wrong?
He had his little drag on. That's his little drag. That is hilarious. And I love this so much. He's probably so sweet about it, and was probably tickled.
He was in a sitcom with me in that moment.
Yeah.
He was such a good sport. And because he didn't even explain it. My husband just was going, honey, that is George Romero. Do you not recognize like he was trying to spell it out as much as without embarrassing me.
You were just not in your body. You were not there.
I was just like, I'm just buying books and talking to somebody, because I'm like buying everything, because I'm like, this is my
You're also overstimulated because it's Comic-Con, I'm imagining, because that's how I feel when I go in there. I'm just like, so many things all together, and I like all these things, and I want everything, and it's just
I want to meet everybody, and everyone smells like, what is happening?
Yes.
It's quite an experience going to it, but an incredible gift. But so it was amazing. And so before I knew it, I just started talking to him about framing and Martin. I just started talking about Martin a lot.
Martin, what did he say? What did he say?
It was
great, all of that. If there's anything you remember,
I know I'm trying to remember much,
Martin
but I just remember
one of our all-time favorites for sure.
Oh my god! And
we've had John Amplis on the show. On Horror Movie Survival Guide. Yeah, it's an oldie but a goodie. We are
hand to heart.
We're literally, our vocal quality is insane, because we were like yeah, it was like it's a chirp fest. I feel like the most like negative comments we ever got was us talking about John Amplis.
Because we were just
like, understand.
We became 12, like just in a heartbeat. We love him so much as Martin.
Oh my god. And I know that you guys also love Season of the Witch, which was also like a big love for me later in life. But like when I saw it, because I think the first time I saw it was on Shudder, and I was just like, where has this housewife horror by Romero been all my life? Like, how did I not know that he made this movie for me? That was so nice of him.
Right.
But
a movie about, from such an unexpected source, right? A movie about kind of women passing the age of being useful to society over into this other world. Like everything has such a subset. I think excited. Like
yes. I mean, because I love writing about mothers. I have this big personal experience being a stay-at-home mom, which was very strange for me because I'm such a punk. And so I was like, how am I this and also this? And but I also almost felt like a big chapter of research that I didn't mean to do. And so it really did like make me understand a lot more about like family dynamics and how the personal is political, and how these sorts of things continue to be perpetuated. And the big headline on that is exhaustion. You just keep doing the same thing because you're just so fucking tired. Kids are glorious and exhausting. So and the world does not support moms very much, so as we know. And so Season of the Witch, I felt very seen. So I started talking to Romero about Martin, and I just kept saying how much I loved the framing and the way he would keep boxing him in and not just his victims, and all the sort of frames within a frame, which continue to be an obsession of mine. Like anything that looks kind of the Searchers, where it's like the frame of the door and the giant, Old West out there. And so yeah, so it was really nice, and I bought everything at his table basically, and I picked a picture, and anytime there's a picture of a filmmaker actively on a set, that's what I want.
Oh yeah.
So I got that famous one, and he signed it, "Stay scared," which I think was his standard signature. Yeah. And I was like, what a fucking great signature. I thought that was so inspiring too, like the idea of like, don't get in your comfort zone, stay aware and scared of how big and scary the world is. Mm-hmm. Don't get complacent in any way. And I thought that was so great. So he sits next to, on the wall, my a great piece of art of Wendy Torrance from The Shining, which is my favorite film.
Oh, how cool.
The long ash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Of course. The iconic ash. So is The Shining your favorite horror movie, point blank?
Yes.
Okay, what is it that cranks your chain about it?
I think it's a Rorschach test to beat the devil. Like, I think it's so fascinating to hear not only do I love the film itself, but I love talking about it. I think it's on one of my bios that it's like, we'll talk to you about The Shining for 3 hours. Because it's so interesting to hear people's takes on it. And also, if you ever want to know if someone's a secret fucking sexist, talk to them about The Shining, because then they're going to talk about how the book is like, Jack's not that bad. I'm like, he's a fucking dick at the beginning of both of those stories. And I think a lot of people will talk about Wendy is annoying and, she's a victim and all this stuff. And I'm like, she is a victim. That doesn't mean she's not a survivor too.
Right.
Horror movie survival guide.
Yes.
It's like what she manages to get out of that place, and it's just so moving. And I love the scene where Jack and Danny are sitting on the bed, and he's like, I love you, don't you, Danny? And he's like, yes, Dad. And he just says Dad at the end of every sentence. He's so scared of him.
Yeah.
And he's so used to being scared of him.
Like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But instead he's saying Dad each time. Yeah.
Sure. But we also know that he can also see into his mind a bit and see what's really going on, right? So he's just kind of saying what he wants to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
smart.
Yeah. And that's but we could talk about this for 3 hours. We really could, because I'm
100.
So I book.
and I think it's
Julia
also
always got notes. I love you, Julia.
It's so of course. Like, and even though it is my favorite, I have notes. I mean, of course, like I think something that you truly love, you're going to be interacting with it in an active way. There's some horror movies that I love, that I just love, but I don't really think about in the same way. This one always gets my imagination rolling, always makes me think. And it's also just visually and score, the sound, everything just reminds you.
Is incredible to me. Just
incredible. It's so fucking terrifying. Yeah. Still.
But speaking of terrifying, though, so we have your favorite, but what is there one that scares you more than The Shining scares you? The one you think about?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I still, this is kind of embarrassing, but because I know there's much scarier films, but I'm an Insidious super fan. I love that franchise. And and I'm a big Lee Winnell fan specifically. And I love how that movie still makes me like, oh shit, I have to go to bed now. How am I going to go to bed now? Because it's almost like sometimes those movies, you don't think you're so scared when you're watching them. And then it's like that Key and Peele sketch. Do you guys remember this one where they're like, they leave a scary movie and they're like, that movie wasn't that scary. It wasn't that scary. And they're just like checking under every car.
Yes, they're absolutely terrified.
They're so scared.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's true, because there's some where you're just so upset. Like Last House on the Left is the one that has upset me the most.
Yeah.
And has stuck with me in that way.
Yeah.
I'm often on I have to give a quick shout out to my husband's podcast as well, called The Hold Up, which is a fun movie podcast that is about all kinds of films. But the idea of it is that you watch a movie you remember loving and see how you feel about it now, like talking about the relationship between a film over time, right?
That's because it changes depending on like your time of life or once you get hardened, there's some you're like, oh, whatever now.
Yes, like
but
how
also,
are you gonna
how you you watching Poltergeist before your mother, you watching Poltergeist after your mother, like it's a whole different movie, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, and that continues to be one of my favorites. But it doesn't scare me. But it does move me every time she's like, the ghost comes through her, and she's like, I felt her. I mean, that's one of the rare times where I was like, that is what it really feels like. There is such an animalistic, instinctual, their smell, their feel that is your baby, that I think too few films really get at. But yeah, I don't remember what I was talking about before that, but
the scariest.
Yes. So the Hold Up episode I did was about Last House on the Left. And it was one of the most interesting creative endeavors I've done, which is funny enough, just being on this one podcast, because it made me realize how much of an influence that movie had been. I had to see it because it was in An American Nightmare, that documentary.
Right.
And I had never seen it before. And I was like, well, I'm sure if I watch the movie, it's not going to be that bad, because I'm like, I was so haunted. And it was so, like, literally, if you're watching this, don't watch that film.
Well, Teri and I were just talking about my Last House on the Left Halloween costume last year, in which I was Mary with Krug carved in my chest.
I was so disturbed and so proud. I was like, yes.
We're trying to figure out what we're going to be this year. We don't know yet, but like,
trying
to figure out like some fun stuff. But I was like,
I'm looking for a team to do Insidious with me at some point, because I'm like, I want to be Specs, and I want somebody to be my Tucker and my Elise. Like, who's
will not be us. We love you though.
Julia, that's right. You guys don't like Insidious. I remember talking about this.
That episode was one of the hardest for us. When we really don't like something, the episode is like 10 minutes, and it's like I was like, Julie, we have to talk for 10 more minutes. Like, it was like, well,
like, you know what's interesting is
adding on that episode is pretty brutal. I think it was like our 350th or what. It was like
I listened to it because I'm such a big fan of you guys and a big fan of Insidious. So I was like, I got to listen to this, and I was like, this is hilarious, because I don't disagree with you, and yet I still love it. But I think
it also depends when you see it, because it's one of those movies I hadn't seen it till we watched it for this episode. I was like, I guess I'm gonna finally watch this movie and see what everyone's been obsessed about. And I was like,
I saw it pretty quickly.
Not for me.
It came out, but on video or whatever, like dating myself. I did see it at home, but it was pretty soon after. And I also, the first time I saw it, I had an infant. So it was very relatable. Yeah. And also it's like, I don't think people talk enough about like that Josh character in Insidious is a fucking dick. And I don't think he's, and I wonder how much the filmmakers were aware of that when they made it. But for me, I think it's very obvious. So I think that's interesting too, because I think it's, you know, we talk about that there's always the bad husband who's like, no, I mean, I believe you, but like, what can we do? You know, like in a haunted house film. And I think it is one of the rare times where we really can talk about these more insidious, pun intended, forms of abuse that happen between heterosexual couples.
That gaslighting, baby.
We do need to know what's going on for you now. Where can we find you online, and so
that
on
people
and
know?
So
Yeah. I am writing my own haunted house kind of ghost possession film right now. So hopefully I will have that done very soon and be able to make that son of a bitch and start. I've chosen
in any way, shape, or form you need.
Bless you. But
I have a couple of coolers. I'm ready to show up.
Well, I think this one's going to need a little more money, but we'll just have the spiritual like cooler talisman on set.
Happy to do it.
But yes, so that's what I'm working on, is trying to get that baby made. I'm a big believer in like, you're just picking the boulder that you're pushing up the hill, and you should have a lot of irons in the fire. But what is I call it like my relationship script, and then the other ones are my affairs. So when I burn out, I start working on one of the affair scripts. But you can find me on the Instagram and the Blue Sky, Alison Locke, and I am technically on TikTok. Apparently, one day I'll put something on it, but I'm a lurker. And and then I'm getting into producing just on a short film. I really want to learn to produce something that I'm not directing as well. So lots of great stuff going on. Having a lot of fun.
You're so
going to bring us coffee. I love this. Okay, great. We got a whole crew.
Wait, somebody said they were bringing us coffee?
Yeah, Gina said she's going to bring us coffee.
Oh, of course she will, Gina Hendry. She is the most generous lady. She's so fun. And she also rivals you guys for the best dressed. Like, all of you guys.
We do
and
love
Anastasia, Washington.
We love us all of clothes.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming to join us today, Alison. You are just a delight, a light in this community. I'm just so grateful to know you. So thank you again for joining us. You can listen to all of our podcasts all over the place, Horror Movie Survival Guide, anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. You can hear Julia and I take deep dives every week into different horror films. Things like Martin. Ooh, nice, nice hat. And you can find out how to survive and become the final girl, whoever you are, and get tips from us every week. You can also check out Julia.
Yeah, I got 2 other podcasts. I am on the Losers Club. We recently did a deep dive into The Stand. And if you want to talk to me, I talked about the middle section of The Stand. So just the middle section. And I'm like, all right, book 2, here we are. And then all about, my love, Stephen King. And then Jodorowsky, all about my other love, Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Oh my God, what a legend and a king. He's so cool. And this show's so good. And also, if you guys aren't already following him, I always like to check out his Instagram. Every Sunday, he gives like 10 tips for life. And they are very good. And just as an artist, you're like, okay, like if I just take forth at least one of these tips this week, I think I will have a better week, which is absolutely true. So also make sure you check out the George Romero Foundation, which is dedicated to restoring Romero's work, including seldom seen pieces from early in his career, like the amusement park and such, as well as keeping an archive and helping the next generation of young filmmakers. So thank you to everyone for watching. Please do feel free to reach out to Julia or myself on the interwebs. We love to interact with you and find out more about what you're into. Do you love Martin like we do? Do you start giggling like a little girl? Yeah. We'll talk about Martin all day. We'll talk about The Shining all day. We'll talk about quite a few things all day. Please join us on that.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and hoping your days and nights are fantastic oracle.
Yeah.